And welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I'm your host, WIZE. And my next guest, I'm very excited to have him on. He has an amazing story to talk about. So let's get him on. Let's get him on the show. Ryan Penley.
What's happening?
What's
How
going on,
you
brother?
doing, man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. How are you?
I'm living the dream. I'm feeling fantastic. I'm ready to do this thing. I'm very grateful that you had me on. You're having me on here, brother. And yeah, man, I'm excited to do this thing.
So let's just jump right into it. So can you share that key moment that led you to decide to pursue sobriety?
Right. Well, it was more like a culmination of some serious rock bottom moments. I guess I'm more stubborn than your average scumbag, I guess. And I found myself looking around. It was undeniable, like things have fallen apart. So it wasn't just one; it was a solid handful of really bad stuff. I was in a coma. In Colorado, I had developed diabetes as a result of my drug use, and I ignored it. Right, so I landed in a coma for like 7 days. My body temperature went down to 85 degrees. So some people say like I was dead, and that's a pretty good assessment of the situation. My mom, she sent me to jail for she accused me of trying to cut her head off with a knife. She's also an addict and alcoholic, so it wasn't like I was just out there preying on people. We were both out of our minds, and some accusations were flying. And so I found myself in jail. Didn't even know why I was in there. For the record, I didn't try to cut her head off, but hey, it's I was guilty of not being able to like defend myself, as far as the accusations go. And so there I am. I'm in jail. So I was homeless for a while. Right. I'm checking off all these boxes of like, yeah, my life went to complete and shambles. And so usually, if you can write, near death, jail, homelessness, broke, lonely. Yeah, that was me, man.
Wow. So what was so what was life like before you hit rock bottom, and how did it influence your journey?
Yeah, I would say, before, like, for instance, I lived in Las Vegas 11 years. And so that whole 11 years, it wasn't like the movie The Hangover, right? Like there were some serious solid times. Like I had done well. I was drinking and kind of partying lightly, like pretty much the whole time, but I was still what you'd call functional. So it wasn't all bad. I had a decent job, I had a good amount of money, and I would say like, um, you know, when I started really compiling the like opiate use with alcohol, and things started not going as good for me. Like I broke my leg. There's a few little circumstances that kind of put some fuel in the fire. So it's kind of like the addiction alcoholism was like this smoldering kind of a low burning fire, and then a few events kind of added some gasoline to that thing, and then before I knew it, many years had passed, and like I had said, I started doing an inventory, and I'm like, damn, this is out of control. But that time in Las Vegas wasn't all like awful. I was still had an all right life, but I think that for most people that find themselves in the grips of addiction and alcoholism, you don't see it coming, or at least you willfully ignore it, right? I was willfully blind. I chose not to pay attention to all the signs, and until there was no denying it, and so that's what ended up happening.
Okay. Um. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during your recovery journey? Like, what are some of the things that have gotten in your way, kind of set you back?
Right. Well, I mean, I was actually just talking about this today. Is that I wasn't fully committed the whole time. Looking back, people when they, I tell people I was like in the hospital, I was in a coma, and things like that. They assume they're like, oh, damn, well that happened, and then you were like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get sober, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna turn my life around. it didn't really, like, I would say it, to people, but I wasn't committed. Like internally, my heart wasn't set on it. And that was a big thing. I would say the words, but the emotion, the feeling, the connection to the decision, it wasn't there. And now if you fast forward, when I did make the decision, this is kind of an insult to injury kind of a scenario. Like, I did make the decision, and then I couldn't figure it out. Right. So the question was like, what are some of the pitfalls, and some of the challenges? And I can say, like, there was a large portion of the journey where I was like desperate. I wanted help. I couldn't get it. I had People had turned their backs on me, and rightfully so. It wasn't like they turned their backs on me for no damn reason. It was, I had pushed them away. So I lacked a lot of resources there. I ran out of options. And so I found myself in different hospitals later on, like just pleading, like, hey, listen, if you put me out on the streets, like, I'm going to be right back here. I'm going to be right back here in a couple of weeks. And the resources really weren't there. That was a big challenge. So at the end of the day, I looked around, and I have this in my book. It's a quote from the movie The Martian. It's like, well, at some point, it's all going to fall apart on you, and you're going to say to yourself, all right, this is where I end. And you can either accept that, or you can get to work. And so that's what I did. I just got to work on my own, pretty much. And then after I started making some moves, some really committed choices, once I did that, things started kind of going for me. But at the time, in the trenches, like day by day,
Yeah.
it was hard to find that evidence,
Okay. And like you said, you didn't have many people to rely on. Like a lot of people, family and friends. I'm sure wanted to support you, but how was it?
Yeah.
It was it because of the way you were that they couldn't help you,
Oh,
or
yeah.
they were just like, that's it. We've tried enough. We can't anymore.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly it. I'm not mad at a single person, not even close. I looking back, they were just doing what they had to do. Like they have to protect themselves at some point, and then there's a lot of addicts, a lot of people out there that have those, maybe one or two people that just won't turn their back. For me, it was my grandmother. She was elderly, and she didn't really get to see me become sober. I was almost there, really. I was like, and she had passed, but she just wouldn't say no. Now, she wouldn't give me money. She wouldn't, she had drawn some boundaries for herself, but at the end of the day, she always picked up the phone. She always made sure I had some food and things like that. But the majority of people are just like, hey, I'm out of here, man. Like, I'm not picking up your phone call. No, you can't stay here. And and if I'm around, it's like, hey, what can I expect out of you? If you're around my kids, like, are you gonna do this or that? Or, like, do I have to worry? Is it, they weren't doing this because they hated me, or they were saying these things and being that way because I had pushed them to the limit.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's people have to, like, now, I understand, like, in the moment, sometimes, like, oh, well, why won't you help me? It's only $20 or whatever it is that you asked for. But, people in the scenario like mine, I was lying most of the time when I was asking for help, so it was hard. It was definitely hard.
So, what inspired you to write your debut book, Man Up, Sober Up?
Yeah, it's well, I believe, actually, people, any human, uh, a lot of times we're dealing with, like, the same kind of problems. There's so many of us that there's a good chunk that have probably ran into the same thing that you're having a hard problem with. And I think that any of us, like, we run into these challenges. There's a strong chance there's other humans and other people out there that are experiencing the same thing. So I think that when we as people we find some success with something that's hard, like alcoholism, drug addiction, things like that, I think it's our duty, it's our responsibility to reach back, kind of help people that are in the circumstances that you're familiar with. And so I once I started gaining some clarity and sobriety, and I started asking myself, and I think a lot of people that go down a sobriety journey, they start to wonder about another level, another purpose, something else. It's like, okay, you're not scratching and clawing every day to stay sober. You probably have to do that at first, but I think it's natural to like say, okay, well, now I want to sponsor somebody else. I want to help somebody else. And so the book is my attempt at doing what I consider my responsibility and offering what I found as solutions. Now, will it work for everybody? Not likely. However, it's my best effort, and so that's what it is. That's that book is what I had. Now I can say this. It's my first book, like you had mentioned. I think anybody that's written a book, which it's an amazing experience, you write that first book and you think, man, I could have wrote that different. Oh, I could have added that. And I think it's just a part of the process. But, I intend on creating some other stuff too on down the road.
So is that something you have you always wanted to be a writer, or is that something that was that the way for you to let out your story? Was that the way for you to share your story?
Well, to be honest with you, the book came about as I wanted to be a thought leader. I mean, some people might be familiar with that term, but I wanted to generate basically something unique and something that can be backed by myself, my experiences, and basically me in a whole, right? That's why the book is both memoirs and strategies, because I wanted to like lead people. And now the book kind of came secondary because I was like, well, how can I do it? And there's all kinds of ways to do it. I know some people that do speaking for AA. They do appearances, they do one-on-one coaching kind of situations in different groups. There's a lot of ways, but I wanted to help a lot of people, and I figured like books are relatively cheap, right? Like books, it's not too often you find a book that's $100. They're typically $20. And so I thought, well, this is a way I can like get it out and the message is there and I could reach a lot of people. And so that's kind of really why I chose that. Now, I've always been interested in writing and being an author. But as things kind of developed, I kind of wanted to like kind of other aspects of leading people in time. But yeah, the book works because like I said, most times people can afford a book, right?
Yeah, no, my nephew self-published. He's already published 2 books. The second one we kind of worked a little bit more and got some people to help word it better, and that one was a much more better written book than the first one. So it's for him for me it was just an honor to help him publish the second book, and we invested a lot in and to get in someone to check it out for us and help us self-publish it. And it was just it's a guide. His book is a guide for him. It was, he had just gotten out of jail and turning his life around. He's been on his last few years. He started his own business, and he's just been just living those principles of that book. And so to see him now and see how he is, it's amazing. He's like, listen, he's completely turned his life around, and I'm proud of him. He's hardworking. He's trying to get his company off the ground, and so to see where he's at now is an amazing thing.
Yeah, yeah, and so there's also like an intrinsic value, right? Because uh, as you're gaining as you're gaining success, or you're getting these achievements in your life, and you know, you're knocking down certain goals. um I think it's natural for us to kind of like want to like share it with like-minded people, and then also like say, hey, guess what, this worked for me, like. And so I think that process is just, I think it's embedded in us like as humans. I think there's a certain kind of like I said, intrinsic value. It's a value that's inside of us, that's, of course, money can kind of come along with it too, and that's great. But there's also another value that's created when you're kind of sharing your blueprint. If he's sharing his blueprint, like, and he's like, hey man, guess what, like, this is what I did. And it almost feels like the best to just be honest about it. Like, it's
Yeah,
just it's, I don't know, it's like, it's a great experience, a great process.
yeah, no,
Writing.
it
What did
is.
he say about writing the book? Did he say it
Uh,
was amazing?
um, for him, it's been it was his therapy.
Okay.
It was his therapy for him. Um, Especially the second one. The first one was more uh it was his way of getting into writing, but the
Right.
second one was more therapeutic for him, and like I said, he kind of lives by those principles now. And, and this but also I've had a brother who was a few months older than me. It's crazy because my dad was a Rolling Stone, so he had quite a few. He got around a little. So I had a
Right.
brother
Okay.
who's I'm I was born in July. He was born in March. So he we kind of lost touch with each other, and through the years he had battled addiction. He just and they had helped got him as a therapy quite a few times, and then after we reunited again, a couple of years after my dad died, he uh he passed away,
Mm,
and it was because he got back into drugs, and he got a bad batch, and and it was just a hot shot, and it was right then and there. He just it got him. So
right.
we
Right. Right.
I know the struggles of people going through addiction, who because he been for years, he battled for many years this addiction, and it got the better of him. So it's not so when it comes to stuff like this, it's important to me because I've experienced it in my life. I've seen it firsthand, what it can do to families, and what it can do to someone who's so young. He was still in his early 40s,
Right. Right.
and just to see him just not be able to beat his demons, and
Right.
see him go like that. It's not easy.
No, is it? I not everybody makes it, man.
No.
And I would say that a lot of the times, the the statistics are against people that really have it, and they're in there. So I feel for people. I've had close people that I like. I just wonder, like, how I made it, they didn't, that kind of thing. I think sometimes it crosses my mind. It crosses my mind to say, well, why was it different? But we're all dealt like a different hand, and it's unfortunate your brother lost. You lost your brother, and he lost you, and but that's why I think that sticking together and kind of getting out and saying the right messages is so important. I think it's really important that we share the right thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's absolutely something that's something that I is always going to be a part of me, and so that's why this topic when I saw you come up, and
Yeah.
it was something I could relate to. I'm like, yeah, this is something I know what addiction is. I know what people go through and everything. So it's important that we share these stories. It's important that people see that yes, people struggle, people go down paths that they can bounce back from, that they can come
Right.
back from and turn their lives around. So you're
Right.
a great example of someone who's been able, and it's just it's not easy because it's a struggle every day. Like
Right.
it's you struggle with addiction every day. This isn't something that is you're just not addicted anymore. You're always going to be an addict.
Right.
That's how it is because this is just something that you're struggling with every day.
Yeah. And well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. As you said some nice things there about myself, and I appreciate that. And so, what you said about people knowing that it can happen, that's a real thing. You get so damn deep in there, you don't think that it's a possibility. And even seeing somebody as like, oh, well, that person did it, you can still very easily not believe it. You can still very easily think it's not possible for you. Oh, well, it's not possible for me. And that's so common, man. Oh, it's so common. It's like, well, yeah, I know that some people get clean, but I can't. And that's them speaking into the universe that's their belief. They don't believe that they can. And man, if we can turn that corner, if a person who's in there and they're addicted to something, if they can turn that corner and start to believe that they can do it, man, that's a big day. That's a big day. It's not all of the work. That's not all of the work. That's not all you have to do, but it's a damn big turning point. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, definitely it is. So what are some strategies you use to maintain your sobriety on a daily basis?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a great question, man. Well, and it also ties into what you had said. Like I'm an addict every day, through and through. I However, I learned a few things about myself, and moderation, that's not my thing. Patience, it's not my thing. I think a lot of people who are addicts and alcoholics and stuff, it's like people people turn to drugs and alcohol not because they're stupid. It's because they work. They're super cheap and they pretty much solve your problems, at least in the near future. Well, I mean, if you think a bit into the further future, then yeah, you got issues, right? Your body falls apart, you don't pay your bills, you end up kicked out and all these things. But in the short run, they work. You forget that you're sad, you forget that you're abused, you forget that you had trauma. So there's a lot of smart people that become addicted. There's a lot of smart people that turn to this kind of thing.
Mhm.
And so I learned that about myself, is that, okay, I'm not totally lost here. I just have this addictive characteristic in these traits. I have an addictive personality. People say that a lot, right? Addictive personality. So what do I do? I get addicted to cool shit, man. Like I go out and I take that energy and I'm like, okay, instead of doing something selfish where I'm the only one,
Mhm.
going and finishing off a bottle or buying drugs and doing them by myself, which is, it sucks because it's so selfish and then you become isolated. I'm like, okay, well, I might get addicted to my family or a new sport, or what worked for me in the beginning was physical fitness. It worked for me. I found
Mhm.
it was a good funnel for my energy. So like I was expending a lot of energy, and then that helped me kind of calm down. It helped me kind of like be able to withstand temptation, things like that. So I found a nice funnel, nice direction to aim my energy at, and that helps. I think for me, for certain, I still have that energy in me, so I got to find a place to put it. And
Yeah.
so another thing too is, like, so uh, scripture and physical exercise were some of the first two pillars of like my foundation, if you will. And then I added like philosophy and different other elements into my life. But again, if you want to boil it all down, you want to distill it all down to one good kind of method. It's like I knew I was going to get addicted to something, and I knew if I didn't get addicted to something, I'd probably go back to what I was addicted to. So I
Yeah.
just found different things to pour all my attention into, and then I just made sure that those things are positive. I made sure that other people were involved and other people could be better you know uh, for those efforts. And so that was
So
I. Go ahead.
so what do you do to handle, like, what do you do now to handle setbacks? Like, what is it? What is it? What are the positive things you do to when you feel like I need to have a drink or something? What are something that you might go do to combat that?
Well, what I do now is I think into the future, which I can tell you, if you're an active addiction or alcoholism, that is a very tough thing to do. You live in immediate gratification. That's what addicts and alcoholics do. Again, like I had mentioned, like you you know it works, you go back to it. Now it works less and less and less, but by that point, by the time you figure that out, you're already addicted. And so now I think, okay, if I want to drink, I know what that ends up being. The evidence is I've got enough space in my mind that I can kind of look at it and say, well, I know exactly what happens a week from now, and I know exactly that after one comes two and three and four and five and six, and so I've come to that realization. And if I just stretch my thoughts out, if I think within an hour, I think, oh man, it'd be kind of nice to have like a few drinks maybe
Mm-hmm.
for that hour. But then if I stretch my thoughts into maybe just the next day, it's not good. I'm probably going to miss work. I'm probably going to not return phone calls. Things are going to start to fall apart rather quickly. So I stretch my thoughts out into the future. But okay, so that's me now. So what did I do when I was in the trenches?
Yeah.
You know, you've got to kind of set yourself up for success in many different ways. You've got to make it hard for yourself to continue the habit or to pick up that drink or bag of drugs, whatever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
when I first started, I couldn't be around liquor stores, and I knew where they all were. At the time, I was riding a bicycle to work, and I knew if I went down certain roads, it was too close, and I'd find some kind of an excuse or some way to get over there, get into that store and out drunk in 10 minutes. Right. So you've got to make it hard for yourself to make those poor decisions. And another thing you can do is add some accountability. Earlier on in my stages, my cousin she helped me out a lot. She let me stay with her, but it was only under the conditions that I made the choice. This is after I made the decision I wanted to be better. And I got a breathalyzer, and I said, I'll blow into this thing every single day. And if I blow hot, I'm out the door. And that made a big difference. It made a big difference because now I have this accountability. So it's like, here's the same temptation, but I think, oh, wait a second. Now if I decide to drink something, and then I can ruin this whole scenario if I mess up. And so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that if you're fighting day by day and hour by hour to kind of get through that time.
Yeah.
But these days, if I could stretch my thoughts into the near future, I know damn well it ain't gonna end pretty.
Yeah. So can you discuss the role of mindset in helping overcome addiction?
Right. So I think that the appropriate mindset, and I've been working on this a lot lately,
Yeah.
is like for instance, a mindset with time. Okay, people think of time as like linear, and sometimes I call this like the victim's equation, and it goes like this. I was, I was born. My parents got divorced. I was in a horrible car wreck. Um, then I was prescribed all these prescription pills, and now I'm an addict. And it could go, all kinds of sorts of ways. Like I was abused, I was abandoned, Then I got kicked out of school, and then, that's why I am who I am now. And so what we do here, it's a fallacy. We add up all the bullshit that we remember in our past, all these instances, and we were like, oh, this was awful, this was awful,
Mm.
this was awful, I'm awful, and I'm stuck like this. And when you move that way across time, you move that way
Mm.
linearly through time, and you say, well, this happened and this happened, and so I'm stuck like this. I got no other choice.
Yeah.
You don't have any choice. If you believe that, and that's how you think about time, that's the wrong mindset. A better mindset, and you can do this instantaneous. You can think of a desired future and how you look and act and speak and behave in that future. You can start behaving that way now. Um, this is like this is such a cheat code for mindset. Um, and so if you can do that, if you can start to behave and make choices in the current moment, the current day, as your future desired self, you become that person, right? Now, what does that entail? That entails that you
Mm.
no longer add up all of your past and say, well, this is my past equals me. Instead, you read the equation from the other way around. You read the future backwards, around the other way of that equal sign. You say, well, that's what I'm going to equal is this X, Y, and Z, a home, a family. Then, right. So, well, what would that person do in this moment? What would that person spend their
Yeah.
money on and spend their
So,
time on? Right. So,
yeah.
it's an interesting mindset, but you can start doing it now, and you can start doing it. I would say, relatively easy. And you start to see changes quickly too.
No, you're absolutely right. It is a mindset where you have to really focus on how you want to say, like, this is how I'm going to do it, this is how it's going to happen, and make it happen. And
Right.
so, because there can be many things that can set you off and set you back, but you're like, nope, all right, it happened, I'm over it, let me move on, next
Right.
step, let me just pick myself up, dust it off my shoulder, and just keep growing. And some people is not easy. But this again, this is a struggle. This is why this
Oh,
is a
yeah.
serious this is a serious topic, because there's millions of people going through struggles with addiction.
Hmm. Yeah.
It could be all types of different addictions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're all, yeah. Now it's like, it's starting to gain a lot of traction is like pornography.
Yeah,
Um, there's people foregoing relationships with other people because they have all the fantasy and at the touch of a button on their phone in front of them all day. So it's I've heard a lot of attention in the realm of addiction to pornography lately, and I think that there's some truth in that. I feel like that there's some people struggling with that out there.
definitely. Yeah, oh, definitely. There's people struggling with it out there. What role does self care play in your life now compared to before your sobriety?
Right. Well, I mean, I had reached a couple. I mean, I had reached points in my life where self care was, it was out the window completely. It was like just self destruction,
Yeah,
with intention to self destroy
hmm
I was intending to destroy myself. And then nowadays, I, you know, I I spent so much time alone. I think that I got pretty good at observing myself. Uh, through a few different ways. I pray a lot. I meditate occasionally. I write all the time. I journal all the time. I find that I can really the self care really starts to take hold when I can gain a little bit of space from myself or from my
yeah,
thoughts, and by writing it down for me, I'll write it and then read it maybe a few days later, maybe a week later, and man, it's such a powerful tool to kind of gain some objectivity of where I'm at in my life, and so when it comes to self care in that respect, that's mentally. that's the best tool that I have. But other than that, like, I'm also diabetic, like I mentioned. That's how I ended up in that coma. I'm trying to like lean into some healthier habits and try to get that under control. And
It,
that's its own thing.
it, it's oh it's so today I had my doctor's appointment, and I have been pre-diabetic for the past 5 years. So today I go to my appointment, and I haven't been feeling well lately. I'm going through some issues health wise, and dealing. I have a sleep apnea that I suffer from,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
I haven't been sleeping right because I don't have my CPAP machine. It's no
Oh,
longer working. So in order for me to get another one, I had to do a sleep study because it had been over 5 years since my previous one. So in order for me to get one prescribed, I had to do the sleep study. Monday, I'll see the pulmonary doctor and get his results and everything. But but today I was officially announced. My doctor said it's official. You're diabetic,
ooh,
and he
yeah.
says, but we can work on it and get you. Like I'm gonna prescribe you metformin, but I'm also gonna get you something else to help you lose the weight, to like bring down the weight. And in 6 weeks, my goal is to help you bring down the weight. So maybe hopefully you won't need to make metformin and you won't need to be taking diabetics. She said, but every day now today was the first time I had to prick my finger and
Oh,
and take my reading, but it wasn't so bad.
right.
Like my wife is diabetic. She's been diabetic for years,
Oh, okay.
and she's an emotional diabetic, which is even worse for her. Like
Oh, wow.
she suffered, like she just her sometimes her readings are just through the roof with her. And with me, mine was 166, which wasn't so bad. This and hers was like when she took hers to help me because she's the one who was showing me how to use everything, and hers was almost 300.
Yeah,
And
right.
and so I'm like, whew. She's like, so she's like, you don't want to get this far. She's like, so we really need to help you really start losing this weight, getting down, and it's again, it's gonna be a lifestyle change, but
Oh, yeah.
I have to do it. This is something that's um it's genetics. It's from my father's side, it was very rampant in his side of the family, to the point where my aunt had her leg amputated and all this. So I really do need to take this serious
Oh, yeah.
and really shift shift my train of thought and really, like I said, it's going to be a lifestyle change.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, I think after like some time, like pricking your finger and everything, man, I know that it gets it would get on my nerves, and I would go without it. And man, it's, you got to make the moves, and you're at a place now where you can make some moves and get in front of this thing. Yeah, it's something you got to do, but it's really, it's simple choices. Like I know when I'm screwing up, I know
Yeah,
damn well when I'm eating ice cream, and I know damn well like
you're eating
and I'm thinking, man, like and so I try to just make more good choices than bad ones. But nobody's perfect. But maybe if we just move in the right direction, I think that that makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, what are some future goals? We already know that you want to write another book, right? That's a future project for you, right? Is
Well,
continue to write.
I did. I got out of. I haven't been writing like formally. Like I haven't really been organizing anything moving toward a book.
Yeah,
I write every day, but it's not. Again, when you have a book on the other end of your efforts, it's a whole other process. But I've been working on a program that I think. I mean, I'm gunning for the 15th of this month. It's gonna be my premier program called Sober to Super. Yeah, it's not live, so I think maybe by the time well, I'm just hoping that the 15th is going to be when I do have it live, and it's basically just a video course that I'm creating to try. It's actually a lot of mindset, to be honest with you, man. Like what I had just mentioned about time, that's a big pillar of my program, because I think people get stuck. That's a big hurdle for a lot of people, is
Mhm.
that, like, well, I can't get better because of this happening to me in the past, and so they stay tethered to that circumstance. I guess a long story longer, for the answer to your question, like, I've got a program coming out called Sober to Super. That's what I've got going on in the future. It should be live on my website on the 15th of July, and it's ryanpenley.org. And so I'm just making
Oh yeah,
moves like that.
hold on, wait, hold on. Say you're about to get that solo screen where you get to plug away and everything.
Yeah, it started coming out, man. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
you're about to handle that. You're about to get. Matter of fact, let's just take care of that right now.
yeah, that's all right. Yeah, man. I mean, that's
There
yeah.
you
So
go.
it's
There
called
you go.
Sober to Super. You can find it on ryanpenley.org after the 15th of this month. But yeah, but that's what I got working in the midst now for people that I believe I can lend a hand to. So that's what I've got going on in the near future. But if you want to talk about, like, on a personal level, I just had a newborn baby, so that's pretty much my whole.
Congratulations.
Yeah, 3 months in. So my first child. So I am, the dust.
Congrats.
Thank you. The dust still hasn't settled in or settled yet, but it's been an adventure nonetheless.
Awesome, man. This has been wonderful talking to you, brother. Continue to do what you're doing, man. If I can help you with anything, reach out to me. Let me know. Uh,
Yeah,
just
man.
keep doing what you're doing. I would love to definitely have you come back on and discuss the program once it's launched, and you can share more information about it.
Yeah.
Just continue to do you, brother, and keep shining bright, man. This is an important path that you've chosen, because people need to hear people need to hear about this. There's still people struggling with addictions, people still struggling with alcoholism and everything. So definitely continue to do this, and help as many people as possible.
That's the goal, my friend. That's the goal.
It is. Yeah, no, that's what it is, man. That's why I do my podcast, is to have these conversations, is to have people on like yourself who knows what it is to struggle, and
Yeah.
has like, but again, like you said, it's a struggle every day. Life is a struggle every day, and
It's
and look at you now. You have a beautiful baby. You've turned your life around. You're trying to help many people as possible. That's what we need to share, more stories like that, where
yeah.
where people can see, hey, there is a happy ending. There's not always terrible endings. You can turn your life around, and get back onto the righteous path, and really just live a better life.
Yeah, man. That's an excellent message for most people, man. And so I appreciate you sending that message. That's a beautiful thing.
Oh man, it's a beautiful thing what you're doing, man. Continue, like I said, continue to do what you're doing. And again, when you launch the thing, just let me know. That way I can
Yeah,
put it in the description. Once you get it going, send me the
yeah,
link and everything, so I can put it in the description of this episode, and people can try it out, and hopefully someone can benefit from it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. As soon as I can, you'll hear about it first, my friend.
Awesome, awesome. But don't leave just yet. Let me close out the show, and we can shout a little bit off the air. But
Yeah,
thank you once again. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and continue to do what you're doing, brother. You're helping, and inspiring so many people out there. Just continue to do that.
thank you. Yeah, I will.
All right. Big shout out to everybody who's tuning in live on Real Wise TV, Twitch, BS3 Network. Thank you, everybody. Big shout out to my Real Wise fan, Poppy J, Brandy J. Shout out to the boss lady. Love you and appreciate you as always. And as always, a big shout out to all the essential workers out there. God bless you. Be safe. You know your boy Wise does it. Peace out.